We talk college football here nonstop at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. So to keep the channel running, smash that like button, comment, subscribe, share the videos as well. We bring on the best bloggers, broadcasters, and writers in the industry, including Jackie Franchuli from Gators Territory. So, Jackie, you've done an outstanding job a number of times when we've talked about Dan Mullen and the fit at Florida in describing what that means. It seems as though from the first time he stepped off the plane in Gainesville after he got the job from Mississippi State, that everything's worked well. Aside from maybe a letdown against Missouri, the season went out as well as expected after a great recruiting class, and then more recruiting successes this offseason, and everything seems to be going well. I hear Gator fans talking about championship, challenging Georgia, and it's automatic, boom, just going to go right in line, and now we're next we're going to knock off the Bulldogs. And certainly that could happen, but I don't think there's any question by anybody who's neutral on the situation that more things have to happen correctly for Florida to win the SEC East than Georgia. It's going to take a few years to catch up on the roster side of things across the board.
Yeah, I think the Gator fans are certainly optimistic right now. You talk to anybody and they think they have a chance. Now, the SC East is a different animal. It's very interesting when you kind of see those matchups together when you look at them. I think Florida's schedule is favorable to them next year. I honestly think they have a chance to compete with Georgia, just looking at the schedule that they have next year. I think although Auburn coming to Gainesville is certainly one to watch, I think that'll be an interesting one for Florida. But Mullen has better talent than people give him credit for, especially defensively. I think defensively, Florida is pretty talented. And I know we just talked about how in the interior line, the defensive line, they have issues with depth. But if they get Slayton and Conley to play to their full potential, you can argue that they have a very, very solid defensive line that could compete with the likes of Georgia. I think in the last year's game, if you look at it, the game kind of went away from them in the second half. And I'm not saying that I'm picking Florida to win the SEC championship, but to say that Georgia is too far away I don't think is really accurate. I think Florida can compete with Georgia for the SEC East, especially when you look at the other teams and where they're at as far as recruiting and as far as talent. The one thing I will say about Mullen that I really do like is the fact that he's able to take players that were maybe not recruited by many guys or might have not, been recruited at a position that maybe was their strength, and kind of put them in a system that works for them. I think Kyle Pitts was one that I was, really not surprised, but really liked what he did. Kyle Pitts was recruited as a tight end. He was only a 3-star guy from Pennsylvania. And now he's one of their go-to guys at receiver, but he was recruited as a tight end. But he's such a mismatch because of his frame and how big he is that they're now using him out wide as a wide receiver. And I think that's what I like about Mullen. And that's why I think when you look at the talent that Mullen has this year, as far as Lucas Kroll has gotten 1 year under his belt with football. Don't forget, he didn't play football for 3 years. He was a baseball pitcher. He's back. So you've got two mismatches in Lucas Kroll and Kyle Pitts. Then the only thing that I will say that might hinder them is the offensive line that we talked about earlier here, because we don't know how quickly this young group can really learn. So I think if their offensive line kind of catches up with everything, I think Florida will be better and compete with Georgia. That is the X factor. The O-line will determine how good this team is.
Yeah, we tend to look at final scores, and I believe it was 36-17, but I watched every play of that game, and going through the scoring sequence, I think Florida came out second half and put together a nice drive, took the lead 17-16, and about halfway through the third quarter, we had a really good football game, and even going into the fourth quarter with maybe 11 or 12 minutes left, it was still like a one-score game and still anybody's ball game at that point. Correct. And then Georgia took over late in the ball game, and Florida certainly made some mistakes that led to the scoring difference at the end of the game. Jackie, we appreciate you stopping by as always and appreciate the information and the insight.
Thanks, Mark, for having me.
Very good. Well, thank you.